Hello, and welcome to Travel Babble with Basha. I am Basha, your host today, as we walk through the MSC Meraviglia's forward-facing room. This was my first time in a forward-facing room, and I thought I would try it out, and I was not disappointed. I do like my balconies. Depending on where I'm sailing, I love to spend at least an hour or so every evening out on my balcony, so I was a little worried about that. I did have a backup plan. I had a friend who was on the same sailing who had a balcony, but I didn't want to bother her. I was not disappointed, though, in this forward-facing. Granted, I couldn't sit outside, but if you are fine with having a forward-facing and being inside, this is the way to go. The room was beautiful. It was big. It was more of a premium or a deluxe ocean view because it was forward facing. As you walked in, plenty of room. There was a sofa, your bed. The bed was nice. It had a cover on it for putting on your luggage while you unpacked. There were 2 beach towels that were laying on the bed. Now, the beach towels, the way they work it on MSC, is you get 2, and if you use it, you always bring it back and you replace it. They tell you if you don't have one or something happens, they will charge you for it. So if you take one to the pool, make sure you bring it back to your room. If you take one to the beach on one of your port stops, make sure you bring it back to your room. It's not a big deal. Many other lines say that they're going to charge you, but I've never had one. I don't know that MSC would, but they were very upfront about it. The bed was a nice bed. It was soft. I had no problems with it. I had plenty of pillows, and I enjoyed the room. Now, this was a little bit different. In the bathroom, as you went in over in the side, was the shower and a tub combination. Good and bad. If you're in the room and you have young children, it's nice to have a tub because it's hard to shower a lot of young children. They don't want to get in the shower, so you have the tub. It's nice for that. It's nice if you want to take a bath every night. The downfall is if you have troubles getting in and out of the tub. It was a big step up and a big step back out because you were stepping up to get into it. The glass partition did open so that you could make it a little wider. But if you had any kind of mobility issues, you obviously could not have stayed in this room because you would not have been able to take a shower. Once you got in there, it was a little short, so if you're a little tall, you might hit your head. I'm short, and I was able to lay my hands and touch the ceiling, so that kind of tells you if you're tall, you might be bending over, might not be able to get under there. It was a nice shower. It had shampoo. It had gel soap. If you wanted conditioner, I usually bring my own. There was also a little corner sink. It wasn't very big, but it worked for me, but it was not very big. There was some shelving, but again, not a very big bathroom area around this sink. For one person, it was plenty. For 2 people, I would recommend maybe some type of hanging bag for most of your bathroom supplies. Back outside, there was your normal where you put your key card in, the lights for whether you wanted do not disturb or you wanted your room cleaned up were right there. They were little switches, easy to read, easy to figure out, and of course your temperature control was in your room. The closet, shelves, a few drawers, a safe, typical, not very big, but typical. And the other side then, of course, had your hanging area. There were hangers there. At first, I thought, wow, these hangers must be ancient. I look at them, they're better than they look in the picture that you will see, but they're nothing fancy. They're not the big, heavy wooden hangers, but they work, and there's no problem with them. I did like the fact that you could take them off, because so many hangers you have to put them in that little loop that doesn't come off, and it's hard to do. So the hangers did end up being nicer than I thought they would be. As far as the view was the best part of this room. It almost was like a window seat that you could look out. Now, I did not get up and sit in the window seat. If you had some young children or you were small, you probably could have sat up there on that window seat. But I did stand in front of it many times watching out as we were in port, sometimes as we were sailing, And on the last morning when we came back into port before we disembarked, I was up early and I was watching the guys as they ran some flags up, and it was just nice to sit there. I have a video of it I'll show you here in a little bit. One thing that was different about this room, and I'll put a picture up of the layout to show you what I'm trying to describe, but at the foot of my bed was a curtain, where normally there'd just be a wall there. But if you pull back the curtain, there were bunk beds. It was in like a little alcove. So if you're traveling with a family, this room would have been great. Or you're traveling with several friends. You could have put 2 more people in there in those bunk beds. There was also storage in there. Each one had their own light. They had their own shelves. I didn't need it because I was a solo travel in this room. I stored my luggage in there. I could have stored other stuff and just laid it on the bed. But that was nice to have. Now, one of the other things with that room, not only do you have that alcove, but the room has a connecting door that connects to an inside room. Now, this is where I'm saying this is kind of confusing, because my room, which was 10002, had an alcove at the end. There was another room that was next door, and it was actually 2 doors down, similar layout, with an alcove with bunk beds that backed up to my bunk beds. My connecting door did not connect to that room. There was an inside room in between that would have been small, that kind of basically took up where those 2 alcoves had gone together, and then they squeezed another room inside there. So if you're traveling with even more people, you could use the bunk beds. You could have gotten the connecting inside room and had a very big layout. I did like that for those people who are traveling with family or maybe some close friends, that you could have used that. One other thing in this room is the desk area. Had a very nice big desk area, and that's where your outlets were. Now, because MSC is a European cruise line who is working on breaking into the American market, they have both American and European plugs. Very nice, especially if you take a converter, that you can use all of them. Now, I didn't need all of them because I travel with a non-surge protector extension cord that has extra plugs and extra USBs. But there were plenty on the desk area that you could have used. Overall, I would do this room again in a heartbeat. I love the size of it. I didn't need that much room, but it was nice to see it. It was nice to have it. If I had been on a longer trip, this was a short trip for me, it was 7 days, I might have had more stuff that I would have put in the bunk bed area when it was just me. I was traveling light for me, but I did enjoy this room. If you think you might want to look at this, you might want to watch this, I highly encourage you to look at a forward-facing room. One of the things I will caution you is, in a forward-facing room, you do feel and hear everything. The first night we were sailing out of New York City. It was a little rough, and I felt every bump, every up, every down. Now, it doesn't bother me. I rarely feel the motion in a bad way. I rarely get sick or nauseous. I was enjoying it. It was rocking me to sleep. But if you're very sensitive, you may not want this room. You also hear the noise if you stop somewhere, and if they're putting anchors up or down in the forward, you are going to hear that noise. Now, I was up on 10, so it wasn't quite as bad. One thing I will say about MSC, they name each one of their decks, and they have some sort of statue. At least on this ship, they had some sort of statue, so that when you came up and you saw that, it was kind of like, welcome home, you're home. And then they label everything. My room was very easy to find, as I said. I just kept going forward. One of the things different I did find out in getting to my room on this ship is a lot of ships, it's straight hallways, and then at the end it's a straight hallway. These are not straight hallways. I'm not even sure I can describe it, but you go left, you go a little bit, you go right, you might branch off different ways. I did get lost at one point, but on mine I just kept going forward. It is labeled, but some of it can be misleading, so just make sure you know where you are, look at a deck map, and follow that. Again, MSC Meraviglia, forward-facing room. I loved it. I highly recommend it, especially if you're traveling with several people with a family, you need that extra bunk space room, you need an extra inside that you can connect to, but remember the bathtub if you have mobility issues. I hope you enjoyed this and you'll like my video, subscribe to my channel. Now, go pack your bags and enjoy the forward-facing room.